Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to y'all. And happy trading range, it looks like. Good morning, Paul. Hey, Archer, Shayak. Good morning to you guys. Well, no conviction overnight, huh? Looks like we'll probably open very close to yesterday's high. Good morning, Squid. I am wondering if we have any other levels above us. We might have to go back way far in order to see that. I'm looking on SPY chart. Might have to look back towards, let's see, when would it be? We're gonna have to dig into February, looks like. Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Saif. All right, we're gonna load more days here on the S&P chart so that we can get some more levels to the upside. Plenty of levels to the downside, but if we keep going up, we're gonna have to dig back into the end of February. And then after that, it's gonna be like the all-time high. So that's pretty wild. That is where we're at. Almost all the way back to the all-time high. Okay, here we go. Got some more days loaded. Let's go back in time. Here we go. Let's see, hold on. What level are we at? Okay, here's one high that we have to contend with. that will be the next level. Let's see if we got anything higher than that. Yeah, right before it. And here. Just picking out unbroken highs from February. Good morning, Simon. All right, this is probably high enough. If we go any higher than this, that's going to be absolutely ridiculous. Go back to the present. There we go. So we got our levels up above. Basically, if we break yesterday's high, we don't have any resistance for nearly 60 points. So this thing could definitely run to the upside. There's the opening bell. And on the S&P, we're right at yesterday's high. Uptrend is in play. If we can get above that high, we'll be looking for a long. And let's check out the old Nasdaq. Range approaching yesterday's high. So markets are operating in tandem. That is good news so far. We're going to have to go back in time on the NAS too to pick out key levels. We'll just add a few. S&P is breaking above its key level right now, so we'll switch back to that here pretty soon to check it out. Okay, there's a couple key levels for NQ. Same kind of deal. If we get above yesterday's high, we have a lot of room to run. Nasdaq's got like nearly 250 points with no real resistance if it gets above yesterday's high. And like I said, ES right now is poking above, so we're going to be watching that. Good morning, Tick Trader. Hey, Fernando. Morning, yes. Yeah, so if we can stay above this key area here, hold it as a support, we'll be looking to get long something like that. NQ still has a little bit to go before it breaks above yesterday's high and the overnight high. Hasn't quite done that yet, but the trend is still valid. So I'm expecting this likely to pop up here. But ES is in a little bit better position because it's actually above that level. So we'll be watching that. Okay, there's the Nasdaq pop above previous day high and that overnight high. So if that holds, we'll be looking for a long on Nasdaq. We got quite a bit of econ news out this morning. Today's Canada Day. I got confused about the days yesterday. Today is the day. We got a lot of Canadian news. The Bank of Canada's rate statement coming in here in like 8 minutes. Then we have ISM Services PMI at 10 a.m. And then a Canadian press conference at 10:30. I have no idea what that's about. I have no idea if it's of any interest to the market, but we will find out, right? The big econ news, at least for the states that I do know about, the jobs report on Friday will be very important. You're getting a lot of employment data this week. Friday is going to cap that off. The market will be waiting on that. ISM services should be pretty significant today. So we'll be flat for that 10 o'clock 10 o'clock reading, and very likely that the market could just settle in before that number. The the maple syrup tariff decision. That must be the Canadian news today. That makes sense. The funny thing is, these days that's, not necessarily satire. That's not necessarily a joke. All right, in Q, we're looking for that pullback, looking for the top of the range to hold, which is also yesterday's high. So if that resistance can turn into support, could set up a beautiful long. All right. The S&P does have a slight break in the channel and a new high. It still could go up, but that's giving me a little bit of pause to trade ES, especially with random Canada news drop in here in 2 minutes. NQ still looks good. We're coming back to test that breakout area. Big red candle on ES. That long is not looking very good anymore. Nasdaq will need to see support form very soon. Right, we're getting a little bit of support there on the top of the range. That is good so far. Canada news passed with nothing. No reaction at all. So that's not surprising. The market doesn't care. No offense, Canada. S&P finding a little bit of support on the EMA. Again, I'm not really interested in going long the S&P just because of this little potential break and new high. Plus, We haven't really cleared the overnight high. We're just kind of hanging out right at it. Versus NQ, we have popped up over this level and we're coming back down to it. So this truly is like a break and a retest. Now we're getting pretty close to the 10 a.m. news release. So we're going to need this setup to happen real quick in order to take it. Don't want to take a trade right into ISM Services PMI. Okay, here's where we want a nice green bar. If this happens soon, I will still consider taking the trade. If it doesn't, we're going to have to wait for the news release. So watching closely here. Nope, no dice. We're getting a move back down into the range. Which is unfortunate because that is meaning that most likely we are not going to have a trending day today. This news could shake everything up and maybe spark some buying, but aside from that, that was kind of the opportunity to get something going to the upside. All right, we got 6 minutes till the news release now. Shyx says thinking about starting trading live on YouTube. Good luck, man. Good luck. I mean, on one hand, it's helpful because, you're not as prone to just take random trades, because you're like, oh, shoot, I don't want to, like, just do dumb stuff or, like, go on tilts or something. But all of a sudden, every little trade you take is critiqued and you get trolls and all that. So, good luck. Good luck. I would not recommend trading on YouTube. All right. NQ continuing its move down here. Yes, continuing to work its way down, and I was going to try to find some channels, but very likely the news release here in a couple minutes is going to ruin all those channels anyway. One minute to go till the news. While we are waiting, please give the stream a like. And that will also prevent your finger from clicking into trades. Should not be a good thing. All right. Stay patient this morning, guys. If it were not for the news, I'd be considering a higher low here on the S&P. Continues to hold the EMA. Looks like it wants to pop up. But like I said, if it were not for the news, doesn't mean you should take it if it forms. Okay, there we go. Zoom out a little bit so we can make room for this whipsaw. And yeah, ISM Services PMI quite a bit lower than what was forecasted. So not a great number there. Sign of economic contraction. We shall see if the market thinks it's that serious enough to actually have some legitimate selling here. So far, it looks like more just a algo reaction and not a legitimate trend just yet, but we'll see. See if anything can get going to the upside. Pretty clear downtrend on NQ. I'll ignore the overshoot on the bottom since that came off of news. Good morning, coffee. What's good? What's good? Very hard to draw a trend on the S&P right now. Something like that's all I can put up there. We're gonna have to wait for some more info. Oh no, slide. Bummer. Bummer, bummer. Tried to pass an eval, but accidentally it was on sim. All right, now we're getting more of a clear channel here. We'll be drawing that on ES. And we can look for some shorts. Hopefully we can get a short before we get to the overnight low. If we bounce off the overnight low, it's not going to be great. So we need to either get the short before the overnight low or after it on a break and retest. Got this channel working on NQ, and we're right at that level right now. So let's see. Hopefully we can get a breakout and a retest. That's where we'll be looking for our short. S&P doesn't look like we're going to get the short before the level. So we'll be looking for that overnight low to break, which it's doing right now on NQ. However, it kind of is looking like an overshoot. Hopefully not. I'd rather see a nice clean trend. Ron asking, is there something specific about Apex's 71%? Why 71? I think it's honestly just to stand out. It's the answer's in the question. Exactly because you're asking the question. That's what they want. They want it to be like, oh, that's interesting. So, which by the way, 71% off, still a great deal at Apex. Still 1 day to pass. And discounted activation fee too. It's only $100 for any size account. So even if you get the biggest account, activation fee is only $100. That's like for the larger accounts, I think that's like a 60% discount or something like that. Okay, we're bouncing off the overnight low on ES. Not really interested in the short at this point because it bounced off of the key level. I don't want to assume that it's going to continue. This could just be a double bottom and we're back in the range. So I don't like the short there. And on NQ as well, we tried to break out, but now we're back into the range. So I don't really like the short on either of those. Hey, morning, Neil. Yeah, this very well could be a V-shaped reversal, so bummer, 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 bummer. It was starting to look pretty good for a short, but when you get a bounce off a key level like that, no bueno. Man, what a bounce. What a bounce. So it's basically looking like this was an overshoot on both indices. Unfortunately, I was hoping for a nice clean trend to the downside, but doesn't look like we're going to be getting that. Yeah, I'm just going to be waiting here. This bounce was pretty significant. And now we're just in the middle of the range. I don't really, I'm not interested in trading in the middle of the range. Would like to either get set up at the extremes. Some buys here, some sells here. Couldn't really take this buy down here for a couple reasons. One, that selling was pretty strong. And two, we didn't even have a bullish signal bar. Same on NQ. This is a pretty significant move down. No signal bar to trade the failed breakout, just like a doji, and then we popped up. So now patience is needed. We're in the middle of the range. Chop zone. This is a good place to lose money. The reason for that is both sides are going to look really good. Buyers are thinking, hey, man, we just bounced off this low. This is looking really good. We can get that second leg up all the way to the top of the range. And sellers are like, well, but this was some good selling, and this is just a pullback. We can easily get that new low. And both make sense, right? Both make sense. So that's why ranges, no good. Middle of the range, no good. You're right, Toad. If you want to lose money, please. I'm not going to stop you. I would not infringe upon that basic right. Possible that this uptrend is played out. We had to move up, break new high. We are right at yesterday's high yet again. We'll see if this key level comes into play. Of course, we already broke it once, so we'll be looking up here for our key level support. NQ, relative weakness, not bouncing with the market. Move up, break barely new high. We're still essentially right in the middle of the range, so compare that to the ES, which has popped up quite a bit more. Another bounce off the moving average for S&P. Could this be the pop-up we're looking for? Find out on today's episode of The Market. All right, NQ now popping up. We'll be watching previous day's high. Volume is pretty decent today, so we do have a chance for some movement. Pretty wild right now. Just like those manufacturing numbers were really bad. ADP bad. There's no trade deals. I just saw on the news ticker Putin says he doubts any sort of ceasefire, and the market just doesn't care. We're just chilling. You would think with all these headlines, everything lining up, like we might have a little bit of selling, but that shows you that we we are not the ones to make these decisions in the market. You cannot read the news and say, oh, okay, this is good or this is bad. I'm gonna buy or I'm gonna sell. This is the only truth there is, guys. What prices are actually doing. Even if the world's on fire, if the market's going up and there's heavy buying, then the market's going up and there's heavy buying. By the way, I'm not saying that there is heavy buying, right? That's just an example. There's not heavy buying right now. We're just drifting. And have just been drifting for the past couple days. It's a good way to describe it, Tom. Just a constant slog. The market has not been moving very well. This whole uptrend is just, it's gone up, but it's done so very reluctantly. It hasn't been like heavy buying, launching up, breaking stuff. It's just like, oh, okay, sellers don't want to sell today. S&P, another little push up, and Nasdaq, no, it is still in the middle of the range. So continued weakness in the Nas. We're not going to have a bull trend if the Nasdaq cannot join. Just plain and simple. Tech has to be involved for a legit uptrend. So if the Nasdaq can't get going, upside will be very limited. So yeah, pretty much I am not interested in anything until we get out of this range. Could consider a sell up here if we have a failed breakout and then a double lower high. So if we come up here, try to break out and then get rejected, I could look for a double lower high. Or if we just break out of this thing like a hard charging bull, then I could look for a retest and a second entry long. So those are pretty much the two options for me right now. Likely going to take a while for those to set up. So the patience continues, ladies and gentlemen. Hope it's a great day for you. We'll be hunting setups in the Discord. Caught a really nice one yesterday on the Nasdaq. Caught a good chunk of that move up. And hopefully we'll get another one today. So trade safe out there. Appreciate y'all. And all the links are below. If you want to join the Discord, if you want the news ticker, all that good stuff. I wish you all well on this beautiful Wednesday, and I will see you soon. Take care.